Hello, welcome to episode 81 of the Fluffy Fibres podcast, the French podcast in English on sewing and knitting, a handmade wardrobe from head to toe. Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Isabelle and I'm talking to you from Montpellier in southern France. Today is one of the very last days of September, and it is rather cloudy here today, so I do hope the lighting is okay. I'm trying a little bit of a different setup today, as you can see, and filming in my living room slash office slash everything room here in our flat. And I decided just to this is my favourite spot in this room, and it's just behind my desk. And I've just decorated it with lovely cards and gifts as well, and this gorgeous vintage Singer machine as well. And so I just figured that would be a nice backdrop actually for the podcast. So I do hope you enjoy, and I do hope the lighting will be okay today. So before we start, I just wanted to express my warmest thanks to all of you who were so very kind after I published the previous podcast episode last month, and who very warmly welcomed the podcast back and were so happy that I filmed again. So thank you so much for watching and for being so very kind and lovely and leaving such lovely comments. I hugely appreciated it, and it's definitely the reason why I'm back here today to talk with you again. So I'm pretty pleased as well, because it's not been too long since the previous episode, which is lovely as well for me, because it means I do have a number of projects to share with you, especially as I was on holidays in August, but it's still going to be quite manageable, and so it's also going to be manageable to edit. So for those of you who've never done a podcast, you do have to be aware that filming is the very least consuming part of podcasting. What really takes a lot of time is editing. So hopefully this will go smoothly today, and so I can share this to you very quickly as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention where you can find me. So I am isabel.handmade.stories on Instagram. I do have an English blog where you can find the show notes for this podcast at fluffyfibres.wordpress.com. Fluffy Fibres is also my handle on Ravelry, where you can find my free patterns for socks, shawls and fingerless mitts. You can also find most of these on my blog as well. I also have a blog in French where I share whenever I have the time. It hasn't been the case lately, but where I share my sewing projects as well in French. So and my Instagram account is completely bilingual, French and English, since obviously I am French, and but I also have a number of French people following me on Instagram and also watching this episode. So a very warm hello and bonjour to all the French viewers as well today, as I do know it's quite a bit of an effort to follow a podcast that is not in your mother tongue. So today's episode is going to be pretty classical, with my cup of tea, today's handmade outfit, a bit of sewing and a bit of knitting. My daughter she did completed a couple of projects since the previous episode, and thank you so much, by the way, for your very warm response to her appearing on the podcast last time. So she's not here right now, she's at school, so I'll see whether she's got time tonight to film a little segment with me. Otherwise we'll just do it next time, it's fine. So for my cup of tea today, so if you may have noticed, I have a bit of a croaky voice right now, and that's because I'm recovering from a pretty bad cold. So hopefully I'll manage to get through today. So hopefully this episode will be quite shorter today as well. But yeah, so to get me through this episode, I'm drinking some oolong tea from Le Palais d'été. So it's their milky oolong. This has been my favourite tea for at least a year, really. It's definitely my favourite tea of 2022. This is the tea I reach for all the time at the moment. I used to be very much into, teas with lots of, flavours. But I've really shifted in my tastes this year, and now I'm really very much into these very soft oolongs, and this one in particular, the milky oolong by Le Palais d'été, is an absolute dream. It's incredibly buttery and definitely milky. Yeah, it's a really good way to describe it. And yeah, it's got definitely super rounded in taste. Almost can feel some vanilla in it. It's absolutely glorious. So yeah, so for today's outfit, I'm wearing actually one of the garments that I finished since we last spoke, and I told you about this garment in my upcoming projects. So this is my Jenny jumpsuit by Liz Taylor in a Liz Taylor fabric, which is her Ecovero Dotty viscose, because it's slightly textured. So we'll talk more about this in the sewing segment, but I absolutely love this this jumpsuit. It's just been my go-to garment to whenever I want to feel really great and powerful and self-confident. So I absolutely adore it. This is my second version of this pattern, because I did test sew the pattern for Liz. So I have a tester's version and then this one, and as I'll tell you later, I did make a few adjustments to the pattern, and I absolutely adore this. It's just a perfect, hyped up basically in my or staple in my wardrobe. So before we move on to a bit of sewing and knitting, I did want to mention that in 2 days, so on Saturday the 1st of October, probably it may be the time when this goes live actually, but it's there's a wonderful knitting and sewing, a couple of wonderful knitting and sewing related events in Lyon. So the first one is the Knit Eat Festival, which I think it's their third rendition of this festival, and the first one I did attend, it was in 2019. They did another festival last year, but I didn't attend for health safety issues reasons, but yeah, I'm very, very happy to be back there to this year, and it's an amazing event in a beautiful location, and just on the banks of the Rhone river, and it's absolutely amazing, and it's just a treat because you have a lot of little nooks and corners to chat, and with a bit more, a little bit less noise as well, which is wonderful for me, because due to my health condition, I'm super sensitive to noise, and at the moment, because I'm recovering from a cold, it's just through the roof. So my tinnitus and my hypersensitivity to noises they're just through the roof. So I'm a little bit concerned, to be honest, because that this event is so close now, but hopefully I'll manage. But this event is really very well thought out in terms of allowing people to rest and relax, and not just the hustle and bustle of stands and all that stuff. Even though of course the stands are really exciting as well. So there's going to be such a lovely array of creators, yarn dyers, etc. And honestly, I'm not really going to buy anything. I do have one purchase that I've planned, which is some hand-dyed skeins by Le Chat qui Tricote by Camille in Aix, very nearby, and she's dyed and prepared a kit to embroider on woolen sweaters. So that is something I wanted to try for a really long time, and this kit looks absolutely beautiful in the pictures. So, and also I really, really like what Camille does. So yeah, I'm very excited to pick that up. But other than that, I don't really have plans. I'll see. Probably I purchase maybe a sweater's quantity, but I really don't want to buy much. I have been really much over the past couple of years. I've really been in a state of mind of just enjoying what I have before I buy anything more. So yeah, what I'm really excited about is meeting people, meeting the makers, and meeting my friends from Instagram, from this podcast as well. And so I'm super excited about that, about reconnecting with everyone after the past 2 years. So yeah, I'm super excited. And so the second event is that Lise Taylor, who is also based in Lyon and has a shop in Lyon. She is launching her new book on Saturday, and to commemorate the event, to commemorate the occasion, she is organising an evening, a launch throughout the day, but also there's a party in the evening that I registered for, and so I'm super excited, and her book looks absolutely wonderful. I did share about it on Instagram in my stories. So it's a book about, so it's called Cozy at Home. The title is in English, but the rest of the book is in French. But it's a book about making cozy garments to stay at home, in preparation for this impending cool weather that we cannot wait for, honestly, after the horrible summer we've had. And so there's lots of patterns, and it's very much geared towards beginners. All the instructions are going to be super clear. I don't have the book yet. I'll pick it up on Saturday, obviously. But so you've got some, a sweatshirt, a couple of trousers, a tank top. You also have a knitting pattern for socks, which are really cute, and a couple of embroidery patterns that are gorgeous as well. So yes, I'm very excited about that. And along with it, Lise is launching a new fabric collection, with all of the fabrics that are showcased in the book, which it is all very cohesive. So you basically have to colour, two palettes, a mauve, purple, or raspberry one, and then a blue one. And so both of them are really gorgeous. You have some viscose jerseys as well. So yeah, so that's going to be very exciting as well. I really look forward to all of this. So, and I look forward to, if anyone amongst my viewers is there, I would love to chat with you, and I'm sure we will. So I'm super excited. So yeah, so for a bit of sewing now, I have quite a number of finished projects, and the main reason for this is that I did complete some projects that were very quick and easy. So I sewed, as promised last time, as announced last time, I sewed myself an outfit with this gorgeous maple fabric by Lise Taylor. So it's an Eco Vero viscose. So I made her Lisette skirt. So this was actually part of a kit to sew this very cute skirt. As you can see, it's very easy, but you do have this lovely detail of the waistband with the tiny ruffle at the top, which is very easy to do. It's super nifty, I think. And so it's also lovely for me because it means this is really high-waisted, which is great for my body shape and my very short frame as well. And so I also made a matching top, which is the Tokyo top by Atelier Scamet. It's a very simple top, but with lovely details. So you have this, this finishing touch that I love doing with this bi-stape for the facing, really. The sleeves as well you have this facing as well for the sleeves. So yeah, it's a lovely little top. It was the second time I made this, and it's super fast to make, but such a good staple to have. And of course the idea is that when I wear both of these together, it looks a little bit like a dress, so I love that. So it's a really easy to wear, end of summer outfit. So another aspect that I've been really keen on lately has been to make the absolute most of my fabric leftovers, so as to limit waste as much as possible. And so I was super careful when I cut out those two projects, and I managed actually to save enough fabric for a full outfit for my daughter in the same fabric. So you have a very similar top, which is the, if I recall, the Dahlia top by Ikati, and very simple rectangle skirt, you know, with an elasticized waist. So as you'll see in the pictures, it makes for a very, very similar outfit. This was her back to school outfit this year. She was very excited. These colours look amazing on her. So yeah, she loves this. She was very, very excited. And so yeah, we obviously have had quite a bit of fun just taking pictures in our matching outfits. Even though, to be honest, we don't usually dress alike. It's just fun for the pictures, you know, just to reassure anyone who might be concerned that I just want to turn my daughter into me. I don't at all. It's just really fun. It's the typical seamstress situation, right? When you happen to have enough fabric to make something for one of your children, and so it's really fun to have matching outfits. But you know, we don't typically dress in the same way at all. We don't have the same style at all, actually, my daughter and I. I'm very, you know, I like ruffles and, you know, a very defined waist, and she's into really comfy, simple clothing. She's still very aware of her style, and definitely at the moment, because she's at, you know, she's 10 and a half, so she's definitely getting more into finding her style, you know, having cute outfits. But yeah, she's definitely more of a, you know, jersey, comfy outfit, but still cute kind of girl, which is wonderful. So yeah, I'm so happy that I managed to sew all of these, after that I did sew this jumpsuit. So let me show it to you again, and I'd like to show you. So hopefully you'll be able to see the texture here a little. It's very, very hard to show on black, obviously, but yeah, this viscose is textured with tiny little dots, which is absolutely lovely. But yeah, I love this jumpsuit, as I was telling you, and this was my, you know, back to work outfit definitely this year. And whenever I want to feel really, as I was telling you, self-confident and poised, and it's just so easy, right, a jumpsuit, because you have one piece like a dress, and you have one piece and you're done. But because it's trousers, there's something so empowering about it. And also, again, in terms of my body shape, this works so well because I'm very short, and so here again it's rather high-waisted, so the fact that it's a jumpsuit, it makes my legs appear much longer. And so yeah, that's really wonderful, really lovely. I just love wearing this. And honestly, for the longest time, I just wasn't ready to wear jumpsuits, even though I found them so stylish, because I kept hearing people talking about, you know, bathroom issues. But honestly, once you've got the experience of actually wearing one, it's just not that big of a deal. I guess it depends on the fastenings, but here, you know, it's just not a big deal. It's just 10 seconds more, really. So it's completely fine. So yeah. So I did, what I did, because my first version, because I'm really short and so I have a short bust, I often tend to do that with garments. So I tend to shorten the pattern for this portion of the bodice so that the neckline is a little bit higher, otherwise it's just too low on me, because, you know, the height here is just, on me, is shorter than average. And so yeah, that's one of the things I did. I did, though, encounter a snafu, because I had forgotten that in the tester version, the bodice was actually a little short, so it was perfect for me. But then the bodice was redrafted, and I used my tester's pattern for this, because apart from that, the pattern was already perfect. And so I typically shorten bodices on me. And so I did do that for that one, forgetting that the version I had was already rather short in terms of the bodice, so that if I'd sewn it as I cut it, you wouldn't have this lovely like blousey effect here. It would be super straight, which I think wouldn't be as cute or flattering. A quick hello again, this is Isabelle from the future. So as I'm editing this, I realise I haven't been clear at all about what exactly and how I shortened this bodice. So I did shorten the bodice here, which I hadn't done in my first version, so as to raise the neckline basically, the neckline on my first Jenny is just a tad too low for my taste. But it's still really, really fine, really. And so the second, I did shorten the bodice twice, actually, in two parts. So here, and then at the waistline, really, at the bottom of the bodice, I also shortened the pattern pieces there, which I usually do, which I typically do for my bodices. And so I removed 2 centimeters from the pattern pieces of the bodice here, which again is typical for me, but I'd forgotten that for this one I didn't need to do that because the bodice was a tiny bit short for the average average body height, in the tester pattern. So hopefully that makes things clearer. So over to Isabelle from yesterday. And so what I did was I added a band all around, in fact, for to create actually a casing for the elastic. So the elastic typically is sewn directly onto the fabric, and I never do that anyway. So what I tend to do is add a casing inside. That's what I did for the dress I'll show next. But here what I did was to actually add this casing between the bodice and the trousers. And so that lengthened the bodice just, the length I needed, just the amount I needed for, to add some length to the bodice. So that turned out really well. I love that it has slanted pockets as well. I love this finish on trousers, like the slanted pockets. I think it's so stylish. It's so fun to make as well. So as you can see, it has a tiny little belt. I did lengthen the trouser a little bit to make it full length. It's supposed to be 7/8 in terms of length. So I did lengthen it a tiny little bit so that it would be full length on me. But I'm not sure I have anything else to say about it. This was actually super inspired by Lise's own version. She did sew a Janie in this fabric. And I did want to mention that I did sew this as a duo with a dear friend that I met on Instagram, who is un fil d'or. And so we decided, because she had the same fabric, we love the same things, the same fabrics, and so for a while we'd been thinking it would be so nice to sew together different garments but in the same fabric over the same weekend, and so that's what we did with this. And so we haven't shared any pictures yet on Instagram of this being worn because we want to share this as a duo as well, but it was so lovely to do that. So it was a lovely experience to sew with a friend and chat about it on online, and it was absolutely lovely. So this brings me to my final make, which since for August and September, which is this dress. So this is the Sun dress by PM Patterns. This is the third time I'm sewing this pattern. So that's the reason why I chose this pattern for this gorgeous fabric, because I knew it would work perfectly. I love this pattern because it has this beautiful neckline that you can accent with some piping. You don't have to, but I love accenting it. It's really what makes it so distinctive and graceful. And so then you have the wide V neckline, which I find is always so graceful. So yeah, I'm not sure if my camera is focusing well today. Hopefully it is, but I'm not sure it is. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully this is focusing. I do apologise if it didn't focus earlier. And the fabric is from Liz Taylor's latest collection, so autumn collection, and it's her birdie fabric. And on a dark blue background with little blue flowers and blue and golden flowers, and of course these beautiful birds which look like they're drawn in lace, right? I absolutely love this fabric. Yeah, it was just meant for me. I mean, dark blue and birds and flowers, I mean, I'm in, And as I was explaining on Instagram, actually, I do have a very, birds are very important in my world, really, in my, poetic world, I should say. It's, one of the poems that has been with me for the past 20 years, really, since I discovered it in my American literature class back when I was doing a BA in English. And it is Emily Dickinson's poem, very well-known poem, Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul. And it's such a powerful one. And in fact, when you look at women's poetry since the late 18th century, all through the 19th century, birds are a very powerful emblem of the tension for women at the time between their constraints in society and their wish for freedom. And so yeah, I love this emblem, this symbol, and I love that poem. So yeah, I even have it embroidered on a cushion, actually, the beginning of the poem. So yeah, the one change I did was, so it's a really nicely finished dress. As you can see, the back yoke is, it's lines, so you have this really nice finish here. And the one thing I did differently, which I do for, whenever I have a dress or a jumpsuit with an elasticated waist, most of the time the pattern will tell you to just sew the elastic directly onto the fabric with a zigzag stitch, and I really don't like to do that. I just think it's not clean, and it's also pretty risky for two reasons. First of all, it's really easy to just go wrong and not sew right on the line. Second of all, you can distort your elastic and it can lose a lot of its flexibility, because you do need to pull on the elastic quite a bit when you're doing that. And third of all, actually, when you're working with very precious fabrics like viscose, especially a printed viscose like that, I think it's just too dangerous. You can really damage your fabric, I feel. And it's just so much tension, even as you wear the garment, there's so much tension on the fabric, right? So what I do is always add a casing for the elastic. So I showed this actually in my stories when I was sewing this dress. But yeah, so typically what I do is I sew a casing here. Right at the waistline, I just leave a little opening for for pulling the elastic through, and then I sew it shut, and it makes for this beautiful finish and this very secure and cleaner, in my mind, finish. So yeah, I love this dress. The reason why I made this dress relatively quickly is that I want to wear it, and I'm going to wear it on October 1st. And that's why I'm not wearing it today, so as to not spoil it. And so it's still all fresh and lovely. But yeah, it's just a silhouette I really enjoy wearing. In terms of my upcoming sewing project, as I told you last time, I'm planning on making a few blouses for autumn and winter. I would also like to make a pair of black trousers. That's really a gap in my wardrobe at the moment, in terms of my handmade wardrobe. So I'm thinking of making the Gabin trousers by Apolline Patterns, which again are high-waisted and have a paper bag waist. And so I made a pair of these last year and I loved them. But yeah, I would like to have a pair in black, for everyday wear. And so you may have seen on my previous podcast that I now have a wonderful white cat who's actually sleeping right opposite me. And so, so I need to be really careful about my choice of fabric here, if I'm sewing black. So for this, for instance, this is fine because viscose is very silky, and so, hair doesn't cling to it. And so I'm thinking of using tencel to sew my trousers. It's a sustainable fabric, and it's also going to be really smooth, so hopefully cat hair won't stick to it either, so hopefully. And yeah, and I'm not sure if I shared this last time, I can't remember, but I have this gorgeous dotty fabric. So it's showing very, very warm red here. Let me adjust the lighting a little. Okay, this is better. So it's a very deep raspberry shade, really. It's called Plum, so Dotty Prune. And it's the same fabric as my jumpsuit. So I believe you can see the texture here, hopefully. Yeah, I'm not sure if my camera is behaving today. Hopefully it is. It's really hard for me to see in the tiny little screen that I have, but yeah, hopefully it is. But yeah, it's a gorgeous fabric, and so I am planning on making a dress out of this, a long winter dress, and a shirt dress actually. So I'm going to make the nice dress, shirt dress by Ma Petite Fabrique. So it's she's a French designer, and she makes beautiful patterns actually. I did sew one of her patterns last winter, and it was the Augustine dress, and it turned out so well. I was so impressed with the instructions and the finishing and all that. Yeah, it was an absolutely lovely pattern. And so that's why I decided to trust her again with this. These are pretty pricey patterns because these are typically very large dresses with lots of fabric, and very long dresses, with lots of gathers. So it needs a lot of paper. So just that already is a reason. The price of paper is especially increasing so much at the moment. So yeah, it's a reason for her patterns being pricey. I think they're the right price really, but it's definitely an investment. But yeah, so I think it's going to make such a beautiful, stylish dress, hopefully. And of course I'm very excited about Lise's new book because I love making loungewear. To be honest, I'm one of those people who love being stylish when they get out, but I also love just being comfy when I'm home. And so I like having nice things to wear that are comfortable at home. And so last year I made a pair of pajamas that I love wearing because they look actually like a jumpsuit, So they're super elegant but still super comfy. So I'm pretty excited about her book, and I do have quite a bit of jersey and a bit of, a few pieces of sweatshirt fabric as well that are waiting in my stash that would be wonderful candidates for her book. So yeah, this is very exciting. So that is all for my sewing. I do hope you enjoyed that segment. And so hello again. Here's a little add-on to the podcast since my daughter is home from school and she agreed to do her own segment on her own makes and to share what she made at the end of August. So do you want to say hi to everybody? Tu veux dire bonjour?
Hello.
Hello. So yeah, she's super happy to be back. She really was so grateful for all your kind response to her appearance on the previous podcast as well. And so tell us, qu'est-ce que tu as cousu alors? Tu as cousu. So you sewed. Your recent project was sewing. Qu'est-ce que tu as cousu?
J'ai cousu une trousse.
Yeah, so she sewed a pencil case for school. So this year she had to have 2 pencil cases for school, and so I'd sewn her a pencil case a few years ago when she started primary school, and so she sewed this gorgeous pencil case, super wide, super roomy. She wanted something super roomy actually, to make sure she could put everything in there. And it's got this very, very wide opening, and it's lined. And you also have these cute little flaps at either end, at either side, so that the pens and whatnots, they don't fall out despite the very, very wide opening. Donc, raconte-nous ma puce. Comment t'as trouvé ce projet?
Je l'ai trouvé super.
T'as aimé le faire? C'est vrai? T'étais contente?
Yes.
Et ça faisait longtemps que t'avais pas cousu. Yeah, so I just asked her how did she enjoy this project, and she said it was wonderful. And then I told her, but it had been a long time since you'd last sewed anything, and it has definitely. Donc, t'étais contente de retourner à la couture? Were you happy to go back to sewing? Très contente, very happy. That's great. I'm so happy. I'm so excited, really. Je suis super contente. Sorry. Yeah. No, I'm... So yeah, I'm super excited that she's excited about getting back to sewing, obviously. And so, of course, this is a pretty demanding project, pretty finicky project. C'est un projet assez compliqué, avec beaucoup de petits, qui demande beaucoup de précision.
Comme les arrondis.
Voilà, les arrondis. So tell us about that. So what step did you find the most difficult? Qu'est-ce que tu as trouvé le plus difficile dans ce projet de couture?
Justement, les arrondis.
Yeah, the fact that in fact you have this massive curved seam here that you have to do quite a few times, because you sew the lining together, but also the zipper, and it's so tricky also to sew a zipper on a curve. Even for me, to be honest. So I'm super impressed with how regular this is. As you can see, the top stitching here, right? So yeah, c'est vraiment très régulier, t'es sur piqûre dans ta stitching. And so flamingo, the flamingo fabric is a nod to our local fauna actually near Montpellier, because we do have flamingos in the marshes and at the sea nearby actually, which makes for wonderful scenery when we go for walks over there. We have wonderful bird reserves on the next to the sea in this part of the Mediterranean, so yeah, it's wonderful. Alors, je dis que les flamants roses, justement, on en a à Montpellier, à côté de Montpellier, et c'est super quand on va les voir, c'est beau. So yeah, flamingos, are not a very common bird, but we're very lucky to have them nearby. Alors, qu'est-ce que tu veux dire d'autre chose? Do you want to add anything to this?
Je crois que c'est à peu près tout.
Okay. Alors du coup, ça t'a donné envie de refaire de la couture? Has this made you want to get back to sewing a little?
Oui, très envie.
Oh yes, a lot, very, very much. Okay, that's wonderful. I'm so excited. So thank you so much for coming over here today and for sharing your project. Merci beaucoup d'être venu sur le podcast. And hopefully next time I film, you'll have another project ready so that you can come over again. Et voilà, j'espère que la prochaine fois, tu auras fait autre chose, un autre projet pour pouvoir venir le partager sur le prochain épisode.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything? Tu veux ajouter quelque chose?
C'est bon.
C'est bon, it's okay. Okay, that's great. Okay, so, tu veux dire au revoir à tout le monde?
Bye bye.
Okay. And now back to my own content, and we'll move on to a bit of knitting. And it's going to be a little bit of knitting because I have been knitting, but I've been chugging away at my test knit for Marianne Margonnet Design, whom I talked about last time I podcasted. And so it's a pretty large, loose fitting and time-consuming, labour-intensive sweater to knit because it's got lots of texture. I'm having so much fun with it though, and I'm reaching the end of the body, so and then I just have the sleeves left to knit. But since it's a drop shoulder design, the sleeves shouldn't take that much to knit. So I'm super excited. I can show you the yarn that I'm using. So it's this beautiful Tencel and Falkland blend by West Yorkshire Spinners, and it's absolutely stunning. It's so nice to knit with because it's so silky and drapey. So it's their Elements yarn in DK, and the colour I'm knitting is Moonlight, which is a very desaturated purple, light purple. So it's almost grey. It's such a stunning, subtle, soothing shade, I feel. So yeah, I'm having so much fun with this jumper, and I can't wait to finish it and to share it with you. But that won't be for a little while because I think the release is in December. So yeah, it won't be for right now. I did finish, back in August, I did finish a couple of pairs of socks, which is crazy and exciting because I am such a poor sock knitter. I love starting socks and I really enjoy making socks, but I enjoy making garments even more. And so typically what happens is that I start a pair of socks and then I think, oh, it's going to be my commute project. And then I start a garment and I'm just so excited for the garment to be done that I just take that garment on my commute, and so the socks just languish in a project bag for months, which is such a shame. So I did finish, first of all, socks for my daughter. So these are DK slipper socks really that are for the upcoming cool season. These are also in a West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. It's their Air Valley DK yarn, super good value. So British yarn, and look at these, how fun are these? They're so fun, I love them. So yeah, my daughter is super excited and super grateful. So yeah, so I think she'll really enjoy wearing them as slippies around the house when it gets a little bit colder. And so yeah, I started these I think in maybe December or early January perhaps. I have I seem to remember I started these over the Christmas, New Year's Eve holidays, you know. But once I just got onto them, you know, and just set my mind to finish them, I just finished them in no time because they are DK socks. And then this just reminded me how much I enjoyed knitting socks, and that I did have a long languishing pair in my in a project bag sitting around, all forlorn, and that was my Christmas Eve 2020 socks. I know, that's such a shame, isn't it? I mean, so, and you know the worst part about them is I had just like this left to knit on the second sock. So yeah, you know, sometimes I just don't understand myself really. But yes, so I finished these at long last, and they're so gorgeous and I love them. And so the yarn is super special. It's hand-dyed yarn by Ma Petite Laine boutique. I actually have I'm not sure if you could see it because I think I was sitting in front of it, but I have one of her cards here. It's so sweet, so lovely. So yeah, it's Cindy who is based in France, and so she dyes the most beautiful yarn and the most beautiful sock sets. So you know, this came as a set with their mini for the heels and toes. So this is a fingering weight yarn, okay, and yeah, I think they are showing a little more contrasty on the screen, as is typical with you know, cameras. I feel they tend to show off the contrast a bit more than they should, and so yeah, they're really very lovely. They're called Christmas Morning. They look like Christmas biscuits to me, and yeah, I love them so much. They're super soft. I'm super excited to be wearing them really soon. I love wearing hand knit socks, especially when I'm working from home, which happens you know, a few days a week. And so yeah, because we don't tend to to heat the flat too much. We definitely don't plan on heating it too much this winter, obviously. So yeah, having hand knit warm woolly socks is wonderful. I have quite a bit of yarn left actually, because my feet are so small. I have almost half of the yarn left, I would say. And so I'm thinking of knitting a pair of fingerless mitts out of this, with, you know, using my own pattern, my cup of tea mitts, which are so, you know, they're perfect for this kind of super delicate kind of hue, I feel. So yeah, that would be really lovely. Yeah, and actually I also knit a tiny little keychain in the same yarn. I keep losing, so maybe I'm dating myself, but I'm still using USB keys for storage, you know, for when I'm on the go, which happens all the time. But this USB drive is super tiny, and I kept losing it in my bag. So what I did was I added a stitch marker, super cute stitch marker with a little donut, a little glazed donut. And I added this tiny little owl as well, which is so sweet. So I love it, and I never lose my drive anymore. I always find it super fast, which is a relief, really. And so what would any reasonable, you know, person do who realises she's such a paltry sock knitter? Of course, she wouldn't start on another pair of socks, you know, after taking 2 years almost to finish her previous pair. Well, guess what I did? Of course I started a new pair of socks. Of course I did. And so I actually finished one of these. My excuse is that I'm knitting them out of a DK yarn, so they're going to go really fast, and also they're going to be so cozy and come in so handy for the upcoming fall and winter. Have speckles on them. It just wasn't worth doing some extra texture. It just wouldn't have shown up. So yeah, this is a gorgeous yarn by Hetero Yarns. I love Hetero Yarns for sock yarn. It's just, they're just so gorgeous. And here again you had the matching purple. Like, this just makes me think of bramble biscuits or bramble jam, and I'm here for it, let me tell you. I am here for it. I absolutely love this. I love knitting these. I just keep pausing and just looking at how nice these are. And so I do have to start the second one. So yeah, so that might be the perfect project to start for Saturday. You know, the perfect mindless project to chat with friends in Lyon at the Neat Eat. So yeah, that might be a really good option actually. We'll see. So because I do have a 2-hour train ride to Lyon, so you know, it would be really nice to have an enjoyable knitting project for that as well. So that is all for my knitting, and in terms of my upcoming projects, I think I did mention it last time, but I'm very keen on starting this pretty soon, and I'm going to knit a rose bridal cardigan by Along avec Anna out of 2 strands of this gorgeous mohair by Liz Taylor. This was Seb's birthday gift to me back in May. It's a beautiful shade, and it matches so well. So it's designed, you know, Liz Taylor's colorways, yarn colorways, are designed to match her fabrics, and so it actually matches the blue, the lighter blue in my birdie dress so well. So that's super exciting. So I'm not sure how well this will show on camera. So hopefully you'll see this, but it just works so perfectly with it. So I'm super excited about that. And also, I think this would work so well with this, you know. So yeah, I'm very eager to get started on this soon. And so with this, my friends, concludes today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it. I'm super excited to have managed to film again. And yeah, I thank you so much for watching, and for also all of your kind words on Instagram as well. And I just look forward to chatting with you in the comments of this video or on Instagram. And I very much look forward to chatting with you next in my next episode. So until then, do take care, friends, and I hope your making brings you joy. Bye bye.